The Academy Awards. A night of magic. A night of glamour. But most importantly, and above all, a night of unhealthy self-absorption.
You like me!
Yeah, let's be real. The Academy Awards is a night, really, for celebrities to, well, celebrate each other for being celebrities.
That sounds awful.
However, the Academy Awards serve another purpose, a purpose that I personally enjoy and try to focus on when it comes to the event. I feel the Academy Awards are a time for film appreciation. The winner is kind of more or less beside the point for me.
And the Oscar goes to...
I don't care. These films are nominated for Best Picture. They've already won in my book. So let's take a look at these films nominated for Best Picture and talk about why they should win Best Picture. Hello everyone, welcome to Film Fireside. On today's episode of Why It Should Win, we will be discussing The Trial of the Chicago 7. Trial of the Chicago 7 was nominated for 6 Academy Awards. Okay, right, I was right, 6. Whew. Of these 6 nominations, Best Picture is one of the awards that this film was nominated for. But why? Why was it nominated for Best Picture? And more so to the point, why should it even win Best Picture? Let's take a look at that. Before we move on, I'm going to talk about spoilers. I'm going to talk about this film, assuming you have seen it. So please go watch Trial of the Chicago 7 first before you watch this whole video. This film was written and directed by Aaron Sorkin, and the script has a huge to-do of what makes this film of the utmost quality and very much Best Picture worthy. In an interview at TIFF, Aaron Sorkin said that the script is telling 3 different stories here. It's telling 3 different stories, and we're going to analyze each and every one of these. A courtroom drama, the relationship between Abbie and Tom, and the big riot on the night of the convention. So let's take a look at those. Aaron Sorkin is somewhat of a master when it comes to writing courtroom dramas. From A Few Good Men, which you may, if you haven't seen the movie, you've probably heard this line before.
Answer! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
And all the way to Molly's Game, which I haven't seen, but I've heard is actually really good. Even The Social Network, which isn't technically a courtroom drama, but totally has to deal with Mark Zuckerberg's being on trial for his illegal practices when starting Facebook. As for The Trial of the Chicago 7, this could be considered his best courtroom drama script ever written. There is a theme, a similar theme between all these courtroom dramas that exist, and I think it exists the most strongly in The Trial of the Chicago 7. And that theme is that justice is dangerously threatened when those who are put in place to pass the judgment or to fight for justice have their own personal convictions and personal opinions and biases interwoven within that process. Therefore, is justice really sound? And how is justice really sound in our world? In this film in particular, the character Abbie Hoffman, played by Sacha Baron Cohen, very frequently points out that this specific trial is a political trial. Tom Hayden points out there's no such thing as a political trial, which, while he's technically correct, the fact that he's pointing that technicality out just actually proves Abbie Hoffman more correct. There is no such thing as a political trial, so it'd be really easy to get away with one. As the events of the film play out, we see just how shady, unruly, and completely motivated by personal convictions this specific trial, the Trial of the Chicago 7, was. Just one example of how messed up this trial was, the name of the film is called The Trial of the Chicago 7. However, there were 8 people on trial. That 8th person was Bobby Seale. Bobby Seale is a notable figure amongst the Black Panther Party, and as the film points out, his being there...
And speaking frankly, the U.S. attorney wanted a Negro defendant to scare the jury. I was thrown in to make the group look scarier. I came to Chicago, I made a speech,
Mr.
I had
Seale.
a chicken pot pie, went to the airport, and I flew back to Oakland.
While no one ever confesses to that fact, he is not wrong. Quite frankly, about when it comes to this trial, just to the historical elements of this trial, there is nothing more ridiculous about the trial than Bobby Seale's being there. The treatment of Bobby Seale throughout this trial is just insanely ridiculous. What's more frustrating about it is it took the prosecuting attorney, Richard Schultz, to be the one who actually fought for and got a mistrial for Bobby Seale. The person he's supposed to be prosecuting, he's the one who said, wait a minute, I'm gonna ask for a mistrial here. I don't think the person I'm trying to prosecute is being defended fairly, because he wasn't. Man, I don't think any prosecuting lawyer in the world would ever want to do that. But Richard Schultz did. Speaking of Richard Schultz, this is a great segue into one of the amazing elements of this courtroom drama as well, and one of the amazing elements of Aaron Sorkin's writing, and that is the character of Richard Schultz, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. As I mentioned, Richard Schultz's character is the head prosecuting attorney of this trial, and he serves more or less an antagonistic role throughout elements of this film because he's fighting to get these 7 people prosecuted. However, the genius of Aaron Sorkin is at play here because Richard Schultz's character is allowed, I don't know if this is historically accurate with the real Richard Schultz, but Richard Schultz's character in this film is allowed to have similar viewpoints of those who are on trial, and to share similar viewpoints of those on trial. One being, this trial is ridiculous. This is a very, very messed up trial, and you can see him being bothered by this process frequently throughout as the events of the trial take place. It gives him the benefit of the doubt. It's fair to the fact that Richard Schultz, while he is a very talented lawyer and does his job very, very well in prosecuting these people, and even points out that he doesn't fully agree with these people on every element of it, they allow him human decency, an actual heart, because most people who are antagonists within our life and in the real world are bothered by some of the things that the good guys are bothered by as well. You know what I mean? In fact, this totally brings up a good point. What's a bad guy versus a good guy? You know what I mean? Therefore, the character of Richard Schultz, being the type of person he is and his motivations and his arc through the story, totally stands out as a unique element of the courtroom drama. The drama in this isn't so much as someone gathering evidence and, shouting the truth at someone in a very dramatic fashion and making the jury gasp. It's a drama in which the conflict is, should this trial even be happening? I got to do my job, and we have to do our job in helping them be defended, but they're not actually getting accurate representation. So this is a very unique take on the courtroom drama, and very well asks the question, as I said, how good is justice? How good is our court system in providing justice? It's just important to note Frank Langella's performance as Judge Julius Hoffman. We're talking about the script here, and it's interesting to point out how Judge Julius Hoffman, I imagine on paper, he almost seems like a caricature because of how insanely ridiculous this man is throughout this whole process. How insanely biased he is and how blatantly biased he is throughout this entire process. Yet, Frank Langella plays this character and plays him with such truthfulness and such sincerity that it makes it all the more believable. Instead of pointing and laughing at this evil, nasty villain, we are sickened by his character and by his motivations throughout the process as they continuously grow more and more and more biased and more unright and evil, really. I don't have a problem saying that here because of how awful this man is throughout this entire film. So hats off to Frank Langella. This could have been a detrimental element of the film if Frank Langella had played Judge Julius Hoffman as a evil villain with an eyebrow and a mustache type of thing. With an eyebrow, one eyebrow, with a furrowed brow and a mustache type of thing. This film would have lost its weight and effectiveness almost immediately. Yet, Frank Langella carries a huge weight in this film, and he delivers that for us. The Big Riot. From the very beginning, Aaron Sorkin sets up this style with this little prologue of the film. Very quick cuts, close to the face, showing various different things happening, and they're all interwoven together. Many people, this film uses a trope that exists where one character starts a sentence and it cuts to a completely different person somewhere else who finishes that sentence for them, giving that new meaning. That is done frequently and consistently in this prologue, and serves as a perhaps foreshadow and sets expectations for how this story is going to be told to us and what we as an audience are going to expect. This is done at the beginning, and it's very effective to note how it's then done later, especially when it's used in conflict moments with the police and just the big riot on the night of the event. Now, here's the thing. I, just like any other film lover, when it comes to action scenes or scenes of conflict, I'm a big fan of a wide shot and a long cut. I believe in giving the actors the integrity to do the actions truthfully and meaningfully and letting us see just all of it take place so that way we can just enjoy all of it. However, Aaron Sorkin accomplishes something really brilliant here in a specific choice to do just the opposite of that. Really close-up moments in these crazy, intense times and very quick cuts throughout this process. It's filmmaking 101 that quick cuts help create energy, they create momentum, and they kind of keep the audience closer and closer and closer with each quick cut. You may notice, again, this is film editing 101, but next time you watch a commercial, try to count the seconds between each cut in those commercials. I guarantee it's no more than 3 or 4, maybe 5. I don't think I've ever counted one that's more than 5. Anyway, point being, he's using this trick, obviously, in these moments, but why is he using this trick in this moment? For me, it personalizes what being in that situation would be like. There is so much happening in these types of situations. There's so much stuff going on, and the chaos of it all is that you're just one little part in this entire crowd of people trying to navigate what's going on. Many of the characters we know are trying to stop the riot from happening, so we feel the frustration as we see them putting their hands out, trying to get people to stop, and we see bodies cutting in front of the camera, obstructing our vision of them. This is a genius decision when it comes to the cinematography work here, because it brings us right into the chaos of the moment and personalizes it for us, as if we, the audience, were a single member of this whole thing. That's the way it served its purpose to the audience, but it also serves its purpose to the story as well. As you know, these people are on trial for the so-called inciting of a riot. They were intentionally gathering together so they could incite a riot, a violent conflict with the Chicago police. That was their 100% intention. But as we are placed in the position of being so close and involved with this process, we know as an audience firsthand how impossible it is to believe that these 7 specific people were the sole reason for the riot to take place. It is impossible and insanely stupid to think that at all, because these 7 people were just as wrapped up in the chaos as we, the audience, were in those moments. Therefore, how could anyone in the courtroom as well really say what happened here? The only thing they would be able to do is give their own personal experience with it, and many of them do. However, it's still not enough, because the decision has been made, more or less. Before this trial even began, decisions had been made who was guilty. Therefore, since none of these characters, John Mitchell included, had a bird's eye view of what really took place, it's wise of Aaron Sorkin to not give us one either. Abbie and Tom's relationship, when it comes to their relationship, I don't know, nor do I really care how historically accurate it was, their relationship, because that's not the point. Their relationship throughout this film, they're more or less kind of at each other's throats, and they both go through an arc of maybe understanding each other more. And there's a humbling moment for Tom Hayden's character when a recording comes to play that basically says he's more or less responsible for inciting the riots of Chicago. He wanted to, as after witnessing his friend being beaten up by a police officer, he goes to the microphone, points out the event, and says, if this is the case, then let blood spill all over Chicago, rather than saying, let our blood spill all over Chicago. It was a very, very big mistake, because that's an important little thing to add in there, because that's what makes the sentence completely different. From this moment, though, Abbie and Tom share a little bit of a heartfelt moment where Abbie recognizes this in him, gives him the benefit of the doubt, and points out to him that he's been reading some of his work. Tom, the entire time, treats Abbie not very seriously, and to a certain extent, we get that. In fact, quite frankly, I'll just personalize this for me. Throughout this film, I was feeling frustrated with Tom Hayden the most. I feel like maybe I'm that guy a lot of the times when it comes to politics. I share his opinion when it comes to how we handle things, and the way, if we want progressive politics to exist, we need to take it seriously and not just be ridiculous about it, as Abbie Hoffman and Jerry Rubin could be considered to be at sometimes. But that's in fact the exact point and the exact lesson he learns. The main lesson that I think Tom learns in this moment is that we're all on the same side. And sure, there could be good, best, and better ways of bringing progressive politics into our society and changing our culture. However, we are on the same side. It's very humbling for him in that moment, and it's also very humbling for me in that moment to realize that passing judgment on someone because of the way they're trying to fight for change may not always be the best solution. We're all on the same side. Let's get back to our good friend Richard Schultz. There's another very wonderful moment in this film that I think, again, is just brilliant to Aaron Sorkin's writing. As we know, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, Richard Schultz, has been playing more or less an antagonistic role. And there's a scene where Abbie, Jerry, and Richard meet in a place outside the courtroom. And after the conversation, Abbie mentions,
You shouldn't be talking without your lawyer here.
Nah, we're all on the same team.
which again, all the more power to Abbie. In fact, as this film played out, Abbie Hoffman became one of my more favorite characters, because as snarky and maybe even clownish as he is, what made me really happy about this is that Abbie Hoffman, who could be considered the less immature one, ends up being the more mature one in seeing goodness in Richard Schultz, the antagonist, being able to find that, because it is there, it's genuinely there, and he's not so blinded by the fact that he's prosecuting us to not see the fact that, he shares some ideas we have. He's a good guy, you know? At least to a certain extent, you know, at least to some degree, he recognizes that in him, and that's so good. So good. He is able, let's personalize this a little more, because this isn't just a history lesson. This is about us. He's able to see, I'm just going to be very blunt, he's able to see that someone with conservative ideologies isn't just the enemy, just because they share some conservative ideologies, when in fact, he notices that those conservative ideologies aren't preventing him from embracing some elements of truth and even agreeing with them on certain things. It's amazing to me that our world and our society, I guess America specifically, where it seems to be the most problematic, we can't grasp this concept. We cannot grasp the concept that A political party is just that. It's a political party fighting for specific things via this process, and the other political party opposes that and tries to do it a different way. And big whoop-de-freaking-do, sometimes this party has been right in history, and sometimes this party has been right in history. Let's just listen and find best solutions whenever they come. You can't deny that that's wise and then that's smart, you know? So this film, it's very obvious to Aaron Sorkin. When you know Aaron Sorkin, he's very clearly Democratic or liberal. It seems that way anyway, which good for him. And it's so awesome to me that he does grasp that concept. And he portrays that in the character of Abbie Hoffman. This story is very much written for our day, and it's beautiful that you and me, we can have different ideas on how something should be done. But really, are we on the same side? Perhaps before we get at each other's throats, we should consider whether or not we're on the same side. I don't think it's particularly effective or correct to say a film is good just based on the fact that it is relevant. Just because a film acquires some sort of relevance does not automatically make it good. So I hesitate when I'm going into this. I want to make this point because I really hate when someone's like, well, this film is really, really relevant. It doesn't mean it was executed well. You know, you can't just expect a film to be good based on the fact that we're going to make it relevant. I shudder and tremble at the thought of all the just bad, cringy coronavirus movies that are being made right now because of how relevant they will be and how important it is because of how relevant it is. So therefore, who cares if it's actually good? We're just going to throw this poop out just because it's important. I recognize that you can't just say the film is good just because it's important. However, the relevance of this one is almost miraculous. Almost inspired even. Let's talk about the production of this. This film began being produced in 2006. That is 14 years ago, almost 15 years ago. Steven Spielberg approached Aaron Sorkin asking him to write a story about this event, and it just kept getting pushed back because of this, that, and the other. But let's just consider the fact that this script had been written and not altered and changed at all, by the way. And then 2020 took place. There was no coronavirus when this was taking place. There was no George Floyd or Breonna Taylor. There was none of that crap that happened. There was no riots when this film was being produced. There was no president calling for the courts to force a conspiracy that there was an election fraud. As Aaron Sorkin very beautifully put it, we did not shape the script to mirror the times. The times shaped to mirror the script. It's almost inspiration to me that this film was released when it was, because it was released at a time where it seemed the most effective and the most relevant. This isn't a history lesson. This isn't something we can go back and go, wow, I can't believe that happened back in the day. This is something, oh my gosh, my ring light. This is something we need to be aware of, our world now, and know that we cannot allow people in power to take advantage of us like this. It's not fair. It's not right. These are all the reasons why The Trial of Chicago 7 should win Best Picture. Thank you so much for watching. Why do you think Trial of Chicago 7 should win Best Picture? Anything you agree with what I said here? What am I missing? Tell me more things about why The Trial of Chicago 7 should win Best Picture. Leave it in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. Bye-bye.